EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday nightcap edition here of Birds 365 on JAKIB Sports, wrapping up joint practice number 1 for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cleveland Browns, who are in town today. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Wednesday evening, brother?
Doing well. Big joint practice day. Exciting stuff until they actually started the practice.
No, John, you've been talking about these as the most important practices of summer, and now you're starting off the show with that. John.
Wasn't great, but it wasn't not from that, but it was just kind of nondescript, kind of a boring practice, but they're getting work in. That part of it's good.
Yeah, definitely getting work in. Definitely. I saw your tweet of Myles Garrett, bus guy. He's get off the bus guy, no doubt about it. Holy moly.
Yeah, he's he's an impressive dude. He's got, he's 272. He's got the quickest spray. He's got a first step like he's 225 pounds. It's just unbelievable explosiveness. And that, that's part of the problem. It was interesting because there was a lot of talk. Jalen Hurts was talking after the practice, talking about, game planning. You don't game plan for practice, but sometimes you sort of game plan. And they were sort of game planning for Myles Garrett.
You mentioned that this morning. You're like, I wonder if they should, just to try and salvage some reps here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, and they ran a ton of inside zone, which, by the way, was very effective. From what you can tell, obviously there's no live tackling, but they were very effective. But that's not what people want to see. But it's what the Eagles do. And, I think if today is any indication, and I think it is, they're going to be the same as they were last year. Just run it down people's throats until somebody stops it, and then shift from there.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. They've been running a lot so far this summer. You get together for a joint practice. They continue to run. Johnny Mack, are they built to do it? No Mekhi Becton. I think I think you're pretty good. I know Landon's supposed to be back earlier in the year, but I don't know, John, some part of me thinks even with that O-line, hey, maybe I'm way off, but I don't know. What are teams going to do this year to try and take that away? Because you got to think they're going to come in with a slightly different mindset than they did a year ago. Maybe not. I don't know. What's your thought on that? Just the NFL trying to acclimate and stop what the Eagles did last year on their way to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think as many teams are going to do that as people expect. I've said that in the past as well. Again, most teams take it as a gift if you're going to run the ball. They want you to run the ball.
Right.
And I don't think that's going to change for most teams. Occasional, Kansas City tried the Super Bowl, didn't work out.
Right.
But I don't think most teams are gonna invite it and say, all right, we'll deal with that. And we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, I think losing Mekhi Becton hurts, losing Landon Dickerson hurts even more. But they had Brett Toth in there today, and they were really effective. They were effective first and second team. So Darian Kennard with the second team is now at left guard, and ultimately I think he might take over if Landon's not there week 1. But they were still pretty effective.
Yeah, good news. Good news.
Running the football. Now the other part, looked like a Carolina game or a Rams game or a Packers game. Look, that was the feel of today's practice.
That Browns secondary is no joke, John.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, it wasn't great from that perspective. So a little bit of And I don't know, maybe people will be happy with that. Maybe they won't be happy with
Yeah,
that.
we'll talk about all that. I want to welcome and
No
thank you.
AJ, that should
Yeah,
be.
right. Obviously, no age. I don't know. Any concern, we'll talk about that. Plenty of things to talk about here tonight. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. Good to see all the great people in the chat tonight. And we'll be here for the next around 2 hours. We'll be here till 8 p.m. 8 p.m. I'll bring on Krause. We have an announcement to make for those who saw the National Football Show. We'll add a little context to that tonight once Johnny Mac pops off. So we're going to be here. I'm going to be here live on the channel for the next few hours, probably 3 hours. So appreciate everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Good to see you, Jack, Jason, Twiz, Kimberly, Billy, John, a lot of our great Trey Lucado. What's up, Trey? Good to see everybody in here tonight. A couple early super chats. How about this? Thanks, everybody. Carson Deniston says, John, AJ and Jalen or CD and Dak? Ooh, big question to start the show there. I'm going AJ and Jalen. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, coming off, what the Cowboys are going through. I got to see what Dak Prescott is this year. I mean, I think a lot of people forget he was playing poorly before he got hurt last year. So, we'll see where he is. At his height, they were a higher volume throwing team, to say the least. So that factors into it. So it depends what you're looking for. But if you're just looking for better players, I would say Jalen and AJ are better than Dak and CD right now.
Yep, I agree. Carson, thanks, brother. Jason, A-Team, Super Chat. Thanks. We're going to get to a couple of these Super Chats earlier. Then we're going to dive in, get this practice update. We got some talk in the corners. You just heard John kind of break down the offense. And then obviously no Shador today. A couple of injury things early in the practice. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what Jalen had to say, what Patullo had to say. Plenty of stuff coming here on Birds 365. Jason A-Team says, Zander, love the hard work. JAKIB does. Thank you, brother. We all work hard. Blessed to be a part of the movement. Your pops is awesome, by the way. Thank you. Thank you, J-Mac, for always switching up your schedule for us. So hyped for this season regardless. A nice super chat of thanks from Jason A-Team. Thank you, brother. We appreciate you being here. Pretty cool super there. Damon Knight checks in. What's up, Damon? Boy, am I glad to see you two. Had to put up with teenage Sills today, and we didn't have Zander to save us. I didn't have a segment on there today, David. But now we're all good. What's up, fellas? What's up, David? Good to see you in here, brother. Appreciate everybody for being in here. And Kenzo, a member for 3 months. Kenzo, thank you for being here, brother. So good stuff. Great to see everybody in the chat tonight. All right, John, let's get into this thing, man. The joint practice, you kind of gave a little bit of opening thoughts, but an offensive day, a defensive day. You said they were running well. You obviously got to block Myles Garrett, which is no small feat. No Shador Sanders. Tons of headlines, John, from today's practice. And also, John, I heard that secondary is still not looking good for the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, not a great day for the corners, I would say. And
let's start
remember,
right there, John. Let's start right there, man.
Yeah.
Keely Ringo. I don't know. I read Ed Kratz's piece today on Sports Illustrated, and he did plenty of pieces. He did great work. So did you, both on SI.com. First thing, Ed Kratz in his didn't like column. I'll read it word for word from Eddie. Keely Ringo being way out of position on a throw to Jerry Jeudy, and like what happened against the Bengals' Jamar Chase in the preseason opener last week, allowing Jeudy to turn and race up the field for what was an easy touchdown. End quote. That's Eddie Kratz on Keely Ringo. John, I don't like reading that, my friend.
Yeah, I think it's, and Ed pointed out the problem. I mean, Vic was talking about that after the preseason game. He's like, he's not mad at him for letting Jamar Chase catch the football. He's mad about, allowing to, making the poor decision, not understanding the situation of who you're on the field with and not being able to get him down. That's the problem. And he had pretty much essentially said, paraphrasing, he's got to learn from it. Well, he didn't learn from it.
Yeah, right.
So that's a really bad sign. Jacorian Bennett wasn't much better today. Get thrown into the deep end, getting some first team reps. And remember, this is not a great offensive team. They have no quarterbacks. Joe Flacco at 40 years old is the starting quarterback, and everybody else is hurt. Kenny Pickett's got a hamstring. He's only working in 7-on-7s. Dylan Gabriel's got a hamstring. He worked in team drills, but he's got a weak arm. He doesn't have an NFL arm. And I liked him as a college quarterback, but I just don't see the projection.
Yeah.
And Shedeur Sanders, we didn't get to see because he strained an oblique when he was throwing early in the practice. So he was
That's a tough injury too.
he was scratched from the team drill. So it's not exactly Joe Burrow out there, and guys are getting beat left and right. He mentioned Ed mentioned the play with Ringo and Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry Jeudy obviously is a very good receiver. So Bennett, he got beat by somebody named Gage Larvadane, undrafted rookie, for a touchdown in the red zone. He allowed a completion, deep completion over the middle from Jeudy. So, Jeudy again got flagged once for pass interference. So not great from him either. Adoree Jackson seems like the best of the bunch. But Vic doesn't seem to like him. So right now it's looking like a disaster. And Eli Ricks, for whatever reason, they're not giving him an opportunity. So he must not be doing what the Eagles want in situations that Vic talks about, maybe away from the ball, things like that. Right now it's not looking great. And maybe you're gonna have to play one of them. And maybe you're going to have to have the growing pains with Ringo or Bennett.
Doesn't sound good from Bennett. That didn't sound very good. The Bennett report today.
No, that's part of the problem. I mean, neither report is good. So
from the John McMullen eye, is Adoree Jackson the best corner of the three as it stands right now?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. Not that he's great, but at least he knows how to play. The other two don't look like they know how to play right now.
Yeah, and the perfect example of that is actually the pass that you pointed out in the preseason game that Adoree gave up on Jamar. And, you're like, well, he played him 5 yards off, but he did get him out of bounds. I don't know. Maybe there's a savvy to that where if you're not going to beat a guy in or get in front of a guy in coverage like that, you got to know how to play him. And that's where the savvy, I wonder if Vic just ends up defaulting to that, John.
Well, right now, I mean, it to me, it would be just a dereliction of duty to start anybody else if they were playing tomorrow. But you still have time. Still a couple more preseason games. Got a joint practice. Got some more training camp practices. So. One thing I say about Ringo is he's in a position to make a play and he doesn't make it. So, something clicks at some point. There's some hope from that perspective, but yeah, not a good report today. And remember, again, it's Joe Flacco and it's Dylan Gabriel for the most part.
Right. And you think how he's going to do something about this?
40 years old. I mean, he was a good quarterback for a long time, but he's 40 years old. And then, by the way, he's the only one who can stay healthy. There's something to those old guys who got to just play through things. And the young guys, they're like, oh, I got to sit down. I mean, there's something to that. Brett Favre would play through everything. And now some guy gets banged up. I see it all the time. Veteran quarterback gets hurt. Who was it? When Cousins tore his Achilles, Cousins had played an insane amount of consecutive.
Yeah, right. He had like 6, whatever, however many seasons it was. Yeah.
And, they put in the young kid from BYU. I don't even remember his name. He's hurt 10 plays in. It's amazing to me. One guy goes 6 years.
Why do you think that is? Is that a luck thing? Is that a body preparation thing?
I think it's a body preparation thing, and I think it's
an attitude.
It's similar to pitching of, well, you can't go past 85 pitches. They grow up with that mentality.
Exactly. And then it's like almost like a mental thing for them.
Yes. And then it's like, oh, I don't feel right, so I can't play. Whereas old, and I'm not saying it's great, but because you're probably susceptible, a lot of times for getting further injury, but there is a respect level for guys that will play through shit, and I don't see that a lot. Joe's 40 years old, and he's the only damn one that can stay healthy. It's amazing to me.
It is. It is. That injury that Sanders got was what you said. It's an oblique injury. It's somewhere in the abdominal, I guess, the abdomen area. That's an interesting one.
He got hurt throwing before practice. I mean,
how many footballs has Shedeur Sanders thrown in his life?
I don't know what to. I mean, look, there's bad. Everybody can tweak something. You get up and tweak your back, but obviously these are high level athletes. And I just point out those guys, those veteran guys that just play and play and play and play and play. Yeah. And then the young guy comes in and 10 plays in, he gets hurt, or 2 weeks in, he gets hurt. Something to it.
Hour 45-minute practice today, Johnny Mac. Some of the youngsters, Johnny Mac. I agree with you on this, no doubt about it. Johnny Mac, we talked about the secondary real quick before we close up that conversation. Move to some of the other points of practice. Is Howie going to make a move there? I mean, if we all see it, if Vic is talking about it, I know he brought in Jacorian Bennett. Bennett doesn't look very good to start. I mean, sounds like they traded for a bench depth guy and got rid of Thomas Booker to do it. Are they done at that spot? Are they good? I mean, I don't know. I got people in the chat not saying they're right, but make a trade, get a player in. I don't know. What do you think, John? Is Howie done on this position?
I think he's already made a trade. I mean, you got to develop the guys you have. Yeah. So I mean, you're not getting an all pro. I don't know at this stage of the, I mean, you're getting somebody who, the Raiders didn't want him. The Raiders aren't exactly a great team. So, but the Eagles are known for their developmental skills, and well, now they got to develop them. Yeah, so Howie was talking to Jimmy Haslam. So, I put that picture up on X, and there's like a million replies about Howie, Myles Garrett, and the Denzel Ward, and come on,
we were
guys.
getting him today in the chat. Oh, send this for this guy. Send this for Sauce Gardner. Send it. I'm like, all right. I don't think any of those guys are getting traded.
Oh my God. They signed. Sauce signed an extension. He's not getting traded.
John, will Vic be able to do it again? I mean, Vic did a lot of incredible things last year that went into that number one defense. Obviously, the players deserve a lot of credit, but you can only turn water to wine so many times, John. I don't know. I don't think he has the talent he has this year coming into the season. I know we've talked about it, obviously something we've talked about, but, there was a sense of me that was optimistic on some up-and-coming players. We talked about more with Joma. You talk about Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith. You think about, Jahad Campbell, I think, is the one clear addition that they've made. I think there's a lot worse that Vic has to try and, make happen this year. Do you think he's going to be able to do it or what?
I mean, do it to what level? No, I don't think there's much chance.
Super Bowl level. We got to go and win it. We got to go and win another Super Bowl.
Well, again, complimentary football, it all factors in. I don't think the defense is going to be as good as it was last year. It's not exactly an out of the box prediction.
Yeah, where do you think it has to be a Super Bowl contending team? Top 8, top 10?
Well, it depends on what the other phases do.
Right.
Does the offense get a lot better? Then it becomes easier for the defense. Do they have great special teams?
That offense was what last year? 8th?
Offense was 8th, yeah.
8th overall. Let's just say they stay at 8th overall.
Well, they're going to have to do it a different way to be 8th overall. With a dramatic fall from the defense, not even dramatic, say 1-15. They have to play differently, and by necessity. It's not. I think there's this. mentality of, oh, just, Philadelphia mentality of just run the ball. Well, you have to be in a position to run the ball, which means in the fourth quarter, you have to be ahead to close out games. You can't be behind. So if you're behind because the defense is not performing to the level it did last year, all of a sudden you have to shift. You can still be 8 and effective, but you have to play a little bit differently. And that's my biggest, and boy, today was a boring offensive day. A boring offensive day.
We're kind of a boring offensive team. We were last year, and it got us.
Well, that's what I'm saying. People get upset when I say that. I'm glad you said it. This is a boring offense. It's not necessarily a bad thing,
right?
For what everyone wants.
Do you think this boring offense requires an excellent defense to succeed? I mean, I think most teams need a good defense, but I don't know. Is this eighth-ranked offense weighed differently than another eighth-ranked?
Well,
you know what I mean? Because of the way they play?
I mean, it's ironic because they had the eighth-ranked offense in 2023 and the eighth-ranked offense in 2024. You saw the results.
Exactly.
So what changed?
Was the defense.
What changed? The defense. So if the defense plays at that level, you're not winning with the eighth rank. You're not winning a Super Bowl. But I don't expect the defense to fall to that level. So you're sort of in the middle, stuck in the middle. But, boy, they got to get this passing game down better. This is going to get better.
And what did you see from Jalen Hurts today? I saw some starts that he didn't have a great start to his practice. He's obviously the guy that would, that the buck would stop with him when it comes to passing. I'm not of the impression that, it's required that he become this passing quarterback, but I don't think you want to be 29th in anything that you do in life. 29th out of 32 is not ideal. What'd you see from Jalen Hurts today? First joint practice with the Browns.
Well, it wasn't great from the perspective of, like I said, it was great running the ball and it was not great passing the ball. Now, first, some of that is the best play all day was a back shoulder. It was the first offensive play. There was a offsides and a fumbled snap. So it was actually the third offensive play, but the third offensive play that was the first one that actually a play was run was the best offensive play of the day for the Eagles. And it was about a 25 yard gain. That's it. On a back shoulder throw to Johnny Wilson, which was a perfect throw. And Johnny's getting better at using his big body, which didn't always do, despite the fact what Jalen told me today. He did not play like a big player. Now he's playing like a big player. And it was a nice catch. It was a better throw, nice catch. And that was the best play of the day. That was the best play of the day. And a lot of it is they're very conservative, even in practice. And again, you can argue, and I even made that argument for him, if you practice ball security, you're probably going to be better at ball security in the games.
Yeah. I think there's some truth to that, the way you put it too. Everybody comes out and says, hey, it's practice. Just try and fit it into the tight windows. And then you end up with 30
exactly.
minutes. Yeah.
Exactly. So I get the argument. But it is what it is. And it's, if you got a better word, please give it to me, but it's fucking boring.
A little left bomb on a nightcap edition of Birds 365. Gotta love it, Johnny, man. Hey, can boring, some say boring equals winning, John.
Brady last year.
I don't know if you agree with this. They said Tom Brady's offense was boring too. I'm like, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. I don't agree. You don't understand what I'm saying. I'm not asking for big plays down the field. I mean, their entire offense today was inside zone and throws into the flat. Their entire offense. And the fans have been the ones complaining about it when things go wrong, and you'll be right back in that category. The fans I'm talking about will be right back in that category if things start to go negative like you were in 2023.
Right.
We need more motion. We need this. We need that. We need more creativity. You'll be right back in that because they're doing the same thing. And it's been tremendously successful. So I get why they do it, but you're hoping for a little bit of evolution. And again, this team stinks and has stinked offensively when AJ's not on the field, and he's not on the field.
Any concern with him, by the way? It feels like a long time now. It's been a week.
Yeah, no concern. Put him in bubble wrap because look at the way they play without him. Put him in bubble wrap.
Put him in bubble wrap. I just wonder because those hamstrings are lingering. I don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit of camp. Camp stuff like you're saying.
Plenty of time for him to get healthy, and he's got to get healthy. I was sitting there on the sideline with DeCecco and Martin and Adam Kaplan, and we all agree it's boring. It's boring. But you know what? If you got a running back who can run for 2,504 yards, you can win boring. Can it happen again? I guess. Did it once. Jalen Hurts said that today. Did it once. Why can't you do it again?
Right.
So it's possible, but there's going to be some ugly moments if things continue to weigh. There's no freaking evolution here. I'll tell you that.
Outside of Johnny Wilson, did you see anything from the receivers? Did anything to Jahan Dotson? Anything to Devontae Smith? How'd they fare against the Browns?
Devontae was okay. He had a touchdown in the red zone. He had another catch over the middle. Devontae's Devontae. He's a really good player.
I was thinking he probably had a good matchup with probably Denzel Ward is what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, Devontae's one of the guys who's just in the category of, all right, that guy's good. But, to the point is, are you utilizing him correctly? Probably not. You're lucky you have a player with that mentality. Because, again, if you had a player with a Tyreek Hill-like mentality who, I want the ball, I want to play, you're going to have some issues. The fact that the Eagles have so many selfless players is an underrated part of this team. Because, receivers are generally have that reputation. Well, the receivers here have accepted, as long as we're winning, they're fine.
AJ kind of talked about that earlier in the summer, didn't he? About kind of learning that to accept that.
Yeah. Well, he had to play. He accepted it early because he had to play with Derrick Henry in Tennessee.
Derrick Henry to Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
What would AJ Brown's career look like if he was with a high power passing all that?
If he was
this game though, John, I do think, and so I do this too sometimes, but I do think sometimes fans just leave that out, and it's not. These are human beings. There's no way AJ doesn't look at some things and say, "Hey, give me the ball." You wonder why he reads the book. You wonder why he says passing. He's a human, man. I'm sure he thinks he's capable of a lot more than he's being asked to do.
Oh, yeah. Devontae the same way. But they're happy. As long as they're winning, they're good. Now, if they don't win, if there start to be issues, then they're going to speak up.
What would you say to Dominique, John, who says, if there is one thing I have no concern on God's green earth in 2025, it's the Philly Eagles offense.
Well, I mean, they're going to be good. It's just a matter of how good they are. So to a certain degree, to a certain extent, I agree with that. But to say they shouldn't be better, I think is just ridiculous.
I think they want to be better too, John. I don't think it's
all. Of course, they want to be better.
Yeah, 29th and all in passing. I don't think anybody wants to be that. I'm telling you right now, I don't think anybody wants to be that.
Everybody's on record saying it. You don't have to think it. They've already said it. Everybody said it from Jalen on down. AJ, Devontae, Jordan, Lane, Nick. They've all said it. On the record, they've said it. Passing game's got to get better. Passing game's got to evolve. Passing game's got to be more consistent.
Not on my bingo card that the most exciting play offensively of the day was the Johnny Wilson, who continues to have a good camp. Johnny, how about Johnny Wilson having a good camp? A great preseason game, some big catches. Now today he's making a big catch in joint practice. I think Johnny Wilson is one of the winners of camp so far. Brian Pumper will be thrilled to hear it.
Well, he was going to make the team. I said it early on. I would say he's had a great camp. He's had a great week. That's part of things. But him and Anaya Smith as well. Year two, they're more comfortable. And that's a big part of it. But yeah, I mean, he's got to be consistent throughout the whole process. But he's going to be here. There's no doubt about that. A lot of the same thing. I mean, we've been having this discussion when at first it was Terrace Marshall was playing well, and then it was Elijah Cooks was playing well when Terrace got injured, and then it was Darius Cooper. All three of those guys, again, injuries play a part in it. I was talking about quarterbacks, but they get hurt and they can't practice, and all of a sudden we're talking about, could Terrace Marshall be good enough to say, hey, trade Jahan Dotson? Well, he didn't play for a long period. Elijah Cooks is showing up. He's making every contested catch, gets hurt. Still not back.
Done. Can change quick.
Darius Cooper is now in that category. And they all look like better receivers than Johnny Wilson or Anaya Smith, just pure receiver. Right. That was the only part of the job description. But one of the few creative plays was a wide receiver screen today that popped to Devontae Smith a little bit, 7-8 yards or something. Johnny Wilson with the block.
He does all that other stuff. He's a lock for the team. John, does Jahan Dotson look visibly better than, let's say, a Darius Cooper or an Anaya Smith?
Oh yeah. He's not in the same category. Yeah, he's much. It goes 1, 2, then you drop a tier to Jahan, and then there's tier 3.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. No, he's much more gifted and skilled.
Anything to Dallas Goedert today, John?
Well, flat, yeah. A lot to Dallas and Grant Calcaterra in the flat. I mean, and those guys catch the football, and so they're positive plays. But it was a bunch. That's what today was. They probably ran 15 inside zone runs and 10 passes out to the flats on both sides. Will Shipley as well, as far as running back, coming out of the backfield. He's doing a good job as a receiver. That's all it was. And maybe they're working on that. Again, I bring up practice. Sometimes on purpose, you're working on things. Maybe they wanted to work on the run game. Maybe they wanted to work on the short passing game. Maybe they come out tomorrow and do something else. Yeah. So I put that context. I'm hoping that's the case, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm gonna, you got to make a decision, because they're running things on both fields at the same time. So it's Eagles first team offense against Browns first team defense. Then it's second team offense, second team defense. On the other field, it's Browns first team offense against Eagles first team defense. So my decision today, because I've spent most of camp worried about the defense, was to look at the offense. And I made a bad freaking decision, because at least the defense is interesting from the competition standpoint. So tomorrow I'm going to be heavily focused on the defense, and then they'll be throwing the football all over the field. And
you quickly regretted your decision.
Oh my God. I was like, all right. For the last team period, I said I tapped out. I'm like,
once you make a decision, can you change it or what?
Oh yeah, you can move, but again, you can set up, and there's little makeshift stands there, but the fans fill them up so quickly. If you're not up there, there's a lot to cover. Like joint practice, I'm trying to see who everybody's talking to and all this stuff, and you're trying to see who's there and all this stuff. And by that time, the fans have built the stands because they're not allowed to get close to the field and see all that stuff, as close to the field. So they're already up there. So at that point, you can stay in between the two fields and look back and forth, but that's not a great viewpoint. And they're running reps at the exact same time. So it's not like they're waiting for one rep to go on one field and another rep to go on the other field. So if you have two people, we have two people, Ed and I. So, we can sort of like, all right, you look at this, I'll look at this. And that's what we try to do. Today I had too much of the offense and I went to the defense for the final period, final team drill period. Should have stuck with the defense.
Less boring, John, on the defense.
Well, my assumption there was that the Cleveland quarterbacks would stink on ice.
Yeah, I get your assumption. I completely get your assumption.
So
high-powered offense, all these guys, good. Got a lot of guys on that Browns defense. I get where you're coming from.
Cleveland defense is pretty good on paper. Right. I thought it would be a nice matchup. Again, it's not even that they were unsuccessful because they did a tremendous job with those inside zone plays. But yeah, it's just they're good, so there's no reason to change. But it is an uncreative offense. I mean, that's fair for people who say that, and many people have said that, and I say it all the time. Well, it's not about creativity, it's about execution. But it's also fair to say they're uncreative and they execute well and they're successful. But it's fair to say they're not creative.
And is it also fair to say that sometimes creativity is overrated? Where
almost
like overbake the cake.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about it because most offenses in the NFL are far more creative than the Eagles. And most offenses in the NFL are not as successful as the Eagles. So that should answer that question.
Right. Exactly.
So yes, it's overrated. But it's also a fair criticism if you want to point that out. I mean, you could have Chip Kelly's old S4 play card, which was about, the size of, of this. If you the size of this, and run what they're running.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Or
but if nobody can stop it,
that's what I'm saying.
No need.
Johnny Mac, going to the defense. I know you said you watched mostly offense, which was a little bit of a letdown. But anything stick out on defense? Keely Ringo, not so good, gets beat again. And then you go over the first thing that Eddie wrote. I told you what he wrote about the dislike. He did write about Adoree Jackson, who showed up pretty good in one-on-one receiver versus defensive back drills. So I don't know. What did you see from the defense and the limited reps you got? And if you didn't see everything, what did you hear from kind of some of your beat reporters that did keep their eyes more on the defense?
Well, yeah, it wasn't a great day for the corners, as I mentioned, but everything else was pretty good. I think, I heard Azeez Ojulari made a couple plays, which is the first time we've heard that in about 10 days. Josh Uche keeps getting mentions from Lane Johnson. He's playing better. I'm a little bit, Jalix talked after practice. They've been doing some strange things with Jalix recently, like put him on the second team behind Nolan Smith on the opposite side and let Uche get some first team reps. So I'm kind of interested to see what that means or what's going on there. Moros just had a great camp. We've talked about that. Jalen Carter's Jalen Carter. Joe Placco was asked today about the defense, and he said, well, they got a bunch of dudes up front. He recognized that right away. So, certainly Nolan and Jalen Carter and Morrow and Jordan Davis are, I would say, pretty solid. And then, I kind of have the Jim's. I have to break myself, and he was there today. I have to break myself of the Jim Schwartz mentality, because in Jim's mind, you got to have 4 pass rushers. And Big said, you know what? I don't have 4, so I'm going to use 3 after all the injuries. So he's a little bit different. So maybe you don't need 4. Tough to get through 17 games with 3, but you can do it. I mean,
and
Max Crosby.
You're looking at Uche, Jalix, and Nolan.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. I mean, but Max.
Obviously, you talk about this all the time. All right, the kryptonite for every quarterback, no matter how good they are, what they do, is pressure up the middle. Are the Eagles betting more on pressure up the middle and less concerned about pressure off the edge, as long as they can set the edge, drop into the flat when Vic needs him to, and kind of play that position from a 360-degree angle, because they're relying on Ajomo and Carter and Davis in the middle to push the pocket back? And in other words, some teams might have it on the edge, an elite edge rusher, but they don't really have the interior pressure. Are they kind of letting that out the door a little bit because they feel good enough about the pressure the team's going to create in the middle?
Well, I think their strength is in the middle. So I think you take advantage of the strength you have. But I don't think that's like a plan, if that's what you're asking. Like, I think he wants great edge rushers. But right now his interior people are better than his edge people. So, you utilize that, you utilize what you have the best way possible. But there's a lot of, so we always talk about, and what I was talking about with Jim, the rotation, and that's what I got used to. And he's more willing to come off that. There are guys, most notably Max Crosby, who basically never leave the field. Karlaftis plays a ton. TJ plays a ton when he's healthy. So there's a lot of guys who play a lot on the edge, but I don't know if the Eagles are equipped for that with Nolan. Again, you're talking about young players. We talked about young players. I mean, and there's already a pretty significant injury history with Nolan Smith. Shoulder, triceps.
Right.
Not with Jalix yet. We'll see. But he hasn't played that much. And then Josh Uche, who knows? But he seems to be ahead of Azeez Ojulari at this point. And I'm not saying, maybe Azeez will be here and maybe he'll use the 4-man rotation and maybe he'll start playing better. Like I said, a couple of guys I talked to said he made a couple plays today. So maybe that clicks. But I still have concerns about that position overall.
We'll see how it all shakes out there, Johnny Mac. John, any other quick takeaways? We're going to get to some super chats. I want to thank everybody. We got a great crowd in here tonight and a lot of super chats coming. So we'll get to all your guys' super chats. Appreciate that. John, anybody we left out that stood out in practice today? If not by you, maybe by Eddie Kratz or by anybody else that watched the practice today?
I thought, Brett Toth was talking to some reporters and said he didn't have a good day. I thought he had a good day in the run game. I thought they dominated inside. So I thought that was a positive, good practice. Darius Cooper caught another slant, so he's doing well. Merrill tried to snag him, so he's interested. Merrill Reese is interested. He's been a big story. I think he keeps showing that he belongs, at least to a certain degree. Um, you know, I think it was more the more of the Eagles were, and again, not bad. More of the Eagles were normal. They resort, and that's what I called it in my story. They just, went back to their default setting, which is inside zone. Probably ran it 15 times. And by the way, every single one of them, not only Saquon, Will Shipley, AJ Dillon, were all effective. Every single one of them was effective. So that's a positive.
Tyler Steen seems to be really having a nice summer. Lane Johnson was giving him a bunch of props today as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing fine. He's part of that interior too, and that's sort of the group that dominated.
Right.
And the Browns lost their linebackers from JOK is out for the season. Yeah. Jordan Hicks retired, so they're trying to play Schlesinger, rookie, and so
Yeah, he was like the first pick of the second round, John. He was, right?
Yeah. 33rd pick, yeah. So, we'll see if they can get him up to speed. So I not that it was bad, it was just very similar to what it was last season offensively. Defensively, same issues. That's my problem with the defense. You're getting no clarity, and we keep getting later into the summer, and as Vic said, days are disappearing. And the cornerback competition has expanded. It's not contracted. That's not a good sign. As Sidney Brown, I should mention, was back with that was a weird, again, they only practiced 57 minutes. You weren't here, but Krause was trying to get me to talk about practice yesterday. I'm like, they were out there for a half hour. But after you're done stretching, they were just trying to get ready for the Browns today. They didn't do anything.
I got to bail him out, though. I threw him into the fire in the last 20 minutes. John, literally 5:40 last night.
No, well, I
need you to step in, and he did. So yeah, he might not have been fully ready to.
Well, I felt bad, but I'm like, I mean, I can't tell you what didn't happen. They practiced for essentially 30 minutes.
Yeah, right.
But it was weird, and I said, the most important parts of that practice was Makuba getting the first rep at St., which came out of left field. Today they were back to Sydney and him mixing in. So we'll see how that continues. And
Makuba dude, I can't get it. I'm sorry. I know everybody's been so mad at me in the chat for saying this over. I can't get over how small he looks, John, on camera. Like I saw a reel or a short video that people put up. And they were talking to Sidney Brown, all right? And Sidney Brown had I don't know what his answer was, but they talked to Sidney Brown. And then I clicked over to the next reel, and it was Andrew Makuba. And I'm like, they look like completely different sized human beings. Like, I don't know if it's just how it looks to me, but Makuba just looks tiny to me, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's a small guy for a safety. I mean, Sydney's a bigger guy for a safety. So, yeah. I mean, Sydney's put together. So, I mean, but you'd be surprised. I mean, the CJ Gardner-Johnson who got here and the CJ Gardner-Johnson who left, completely different guys from a physical perspective. CJ really remade his body. I always talk about TJ Edwards when he got here to when he left. Kobe Dean. His Lisfranc injury, there was a silver lining to that because he couldn't work out his lower body for so long. He just worked out his upper body, and he came back and he was just jacked. So, I mean, he's got to get bigger, and that happens a lot with young players, with rookie players. They got to get, they got to get in an NFL weight room, an NFL strength and conditioning program. It's their job.
Right.
It's not like regular people who go to the gym. I mean, their job is to go to the gym. They have a lot of time And they have all these trainers and cooks and nutritionists and sports science people putting them on programs. I think a lot of people would be shocked at how it morphs over time. And he's definitely going to have to add weight and strength. But, the positives about Drew Makubar is his coverage ability, his savviness in coverage, his instincts in coverage. That's what the Eagles like. And they're going to, behind the scenes, they'll try to build up his body a little bit and make him better equipped to do it long term.
John, anything from the pressers today? Kevin Patullo spoke pre-practice. A bunch of players spoke after practice. Jalen spoke about kind of his conversation he had with Shador. Any key takeaways from those, John?
I think, Jalen admitted he's got more confidence from winning the Super Bowl. For whatever reason, he never admitted that before. I think Ed asked him that question last week, and he kind of blew it off. And then for whatever reason, he got it asked again today, and he gave a really good answer. And, he's talking to – it was Jeff McMullen who asked the question. He said, have you ever been promoted? And, of course, it gives you confidence. So when you reach the highest level, and that's where he said, well, we did it last year, so why can't we do it again?
Right.
So, that's given him more confidence, and I think that's understandable. I think that's.
I don't know how I'd liken it to a promotion, but I guess I understand the sentiment.
Well, the feeling of accomplishment,
Right,
as he was trying to say. We don't get to win Super Bowls,
right.
but when the average person gets promoted, they might feel a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, I get that. I get that completely. All right, good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Let's get to some super chats here. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We're going to get to all chats. I got a lot of them. Thank everybody for being here. All right, and we'll get to each chat. Two guys I want to thank right up front. All right, it's Mad Dio gives 10 memberships. Dio, thank you, brother. That's 10 memberships added to the giveaways on JAKIB Sports. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, Mad Dio. And then also Damon Knight gets 5 memberships. So 15 gifted memberships tonight. Wow. Big thanks to everybody for gifting, and good lucky congrats to the members who got gifted a membership and will now be eligible because it's August 13th. You guys are going to be in on that first giveaway, man. That first game is September 4th. So anybody that got gifted will be in on the first giveaway. And something, by the way, all the chat, I want you to listen closely. You guys are going to have to help me come up with the giveaway, the weekly giveaway. I'm getting jerseys anyway to give away, but I want to have another giveaway that triggers one in the game. So what is it going to be? We'll think about that here in a little bit. Johnny Mac, let's get to some super chats. Here we go. Master Chief says, Rasul Douglas, get him. The names are coming, John. We got another one.
Well, I don't know. Rasul was a good zone corner. I don't know if he still is. He's got good ball skills.
And had a pretty good career, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he's 2017. He's still playing Buffalo most recently. A lot of interceptions. Always had great ball skills. Natural zone cover corner, which is would work in big scheme. Not the fastest guy in the world. That was the knock on him coming out. It's really like a 4'6" guy, very big corner. I think at this stage, I think he's 30. I don't think the Eagles want to go down that route, but people know him because he was drafted here and he's made a bunch of interceptions in his career. So, but I think they're comfortable with, and you see what the Eagles want with Ringo's speed and Bennett's speed.
Yeah.
They don't want a 4'6" guy out there.
D. Hughes says, time to trade for Sauce Gardner. Joking.
Yeah, that's not possible. So I'm glad you put joking.
Damon says, David, how long have you been around here? Because this is what I got. He says, Zander, when is J-Mac getting his Power Hour solo show? David, I don't think this guy can work another hour.
Well, yeah, what are you trying to kill me, dude?
But, Damon, if you've been here long, John, I'm sure you remember this. John used to have a Power Hour solo show on Saturday mornings called Extending the Play. All right, that was a great show, actually, John. So, Damon, I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to or you're looking for a new one, but not on the cards right now. Carson says, by the way, not because I don't want it, because John is working his balls off already. Carson says, if we are that bad at cornerback, why don't they play Coop? I'm starting to wonder this, John. Is Coop come to the outside becoming more possible the more the questions persist at that spot?
I think they like for safety.
I know.
I mean, it's now August. I'll tell you what, Vic's putting a good he's throwing a curveball because it's now whatever, August. I gotta look. August 13th. He hasn't taken one rep this summer at outside corner to date. He did in the spring. That's what they tried. They tried it in the spring. And then when they got to training camp, they tried safety. And I think Vic likes him so much at safety and the slot. But I mean, if it goes really horribly bad and all of a sudden, Sydney or Drew are good, I wouldn't put it out the window, but I think we're talking like less than 10% at this stage. But I think he could do it. I think Vic thinks he can do it. I just think Vic is more comfortable. I think Vic thinks his best position long-term is safety now. But if the safeties are good and the corners are bad, he could make that switch when he needs to make the switch.
We'll see. JH checks in. What's up, JH? I heard Mick Williams has gotten outside reps the last 2 days on second team. How has he looked? Any chance he could come along and perhaps play this year?
Well, I thought there was, if he plays this year, it's probably going to be because of injury, significant play. And I thought he was coming along in the slot. I think they're trying to cross-train him. Again, I didn't watch much of the defense today. I didn't hear his name when I was talking to most of the guys. The practice, the 57-minute practice, he was outside. He didn't look great. He got beat on back-to-back corner routes. But he's more comfortable outside. He started outside in the spring. He played outside in college. He's just got some size deficiencies. So I think he can play both in a pinch. But I think this year it's about development for Mac McWilliams. He's going to be on the team, but if he's playing, it's because somebody got hurt. I would is how I would describe it.
Yeah, 5th-round rookie, probably not much this year unless necessary, but we will see. JH. Damon Knight checks in. Damon, thanks for all the support, brother. He says, do you guys think we can be top 5 in both? Oof.
Top 5 in offense and defense? No.
I think you'd have a really special season if you were, but that feels a little lofty for me.
I think the offense is more likely to be top 5 this year. Boring, but top 5. Defense, right now, there looks like there's too many issues.
Damon again says, I'm a machine operator, and a boring day equals a good day. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, if you can do it, do it. But I also know, Damon, if you're like the typical Eagles fan, a couple losses pile up, you'll be talking about how uncreative the offense is. Nobody cares when they're winning, which I also said. Nobody cares. Nobody noticed What did we talk about all off season before Kellen Moore took over the Eagles offense? What did we talk about, Zander? Don't listen to me. Listen to Zander. What did we talk about all off season?
Motion.
Oh, the motion, the creativity, what he's done in Dallas. They're going to bring that here. Same shit. Nobody cared because they started winning games. Brian Johnson got the uncreative tag because they didn't win. 10-1 turned into 11-7. So it all, if everything, the old adage is true, winning cures everything. As long as you win, nothing matters.
Brian Pumper checks in. Here we go. Pump, I think Birds 365 has been lacking in good Pumper comments. He says, "Where are all the Ja'Cory and Beignet guys? Straight scattered like roaches. Scram." Oh no, he's been saying this about Ja'Cory since we traded for him.
Well, the guy's been here for a week. I mean, I think both sides are silly. I think the ones who thought he'd be a star because he came over after 400 snaps with the Las Vegas Raiders of all team, were kind of silly. But yeah, I think if you're giving up on him, I think that's kind of silly. It's been here for a couple days. But right now it's not looking great, but probably doesn't even know the defense yet.
Good stuff, Pump. We'll see. Twiz says, J-Mac, have you gotten a ride in Gillies side by side? Why the fuck would J-Mac ever get in Gillies?
No, I'm not interested in Gillies. Gilly was there today, but I'm not interested.
Yeah. He's a lot to deal with sometimes. JD3 says, seen out here bullying top 5 picks. He's a bad dude. Who is this? Steen.
Oh, yeah. Mason Graham doesn't look like a top 5. Yeah, that might be a bad pick by Cleveland. I don't know. He doesn't look
like your 3rd round quarterback. He didn't sound like he didn't get a glowing review from you either.
No, and by the way, I like Dylan Gabriel as a college quarterback. I thought but he just doesn't. I don't think he has the physical traits to stand out in the NFL. I was looking at Graham a lot today because I was interested in him. And normally when you see top 5 picks in the NFL, you know it. Like Miles, I mean, you know it. Jalen Carter, you know it. He wasn't top 5, but he would have been top 5. I didn't get that feeling with Mason Graham.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think Tyler Steen was bullying him, but yeah, I didn't get that feeling with Mason Graham.
B. Preston checks in. What's up, Preston? How did Q look today? Didn't hear anything about him. Yeah, did he travel?
I don't know. I didn't watch enough defense, but yeah, Q's been. I don't think he would have traveled today.
Yeah, why?
I guess he could travel with Judy, but I don't. People overrate the traveling stuff. That's another thing. Christian Parker went into that in depth. I mean, first of all, if somebody goes in the slot, like most of the guys, I think that people think of as moving all around. So if you think about Cooper Kupp when he was winning the Triple Crown, or Jefferson, or CeeDee Lamb, who plays in the slot more than he plays outside. Right there, they're not traveling Q then. If you play in the slot, he's not playing in the slot. So, Christian Parker said it's very, more for static type teams. Play a traditional X, traditional Z. Now they have done it in practice because the Eagles' offense is pretty static. So he has followed AJ and Devontae, and that's big getting him prepared in case he has to do it. But it's not like it's going to be a weekly thing. because most teams, like they play Minnesota this year, he's not going to travel with Jefferson because Jefferson's going to go in the slot.
Right.
So
presumably Dallas too in week 1, no?
Yeah, CD's going to go in the slot.
That's going to be good though, because if you got Q in the slot still, I mean, I think you're in good shape in that week 1 game.
No, he's not going to the slot. That's what I'm saying. He's not.
No, I'm saying you got Cooper in the slot.
Yeah.
No, that's what I meant. I might have said Q. I meant Cooper. My bad. Cooper would be in the slot, so you're in good shape there.
Yeah. Yeah, Cooper's fine in the slot.
I don't got any worries about Cooper.
But just from the traffic, because I think a lot of people, are thinking it's got to be a very static offense, traditional X, traditional Z, and then he might travel. And there aren't many offenses like that.
Good stuff there. Get to a couple more supers. Damon says, I talk about that after 1 loss, LOL.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've heard it a million times. And they are. It's not incorrect. They're not. They're not Ben Johnson out there. But you can just as easily say Ben Johnson overdoes it. But they're not running a Kyle Shanahan offense. But they don't have to.
All right. Damon, good stuff. Gubby, what's up? What's up, Gubby? Last super chat. We got about 50 minutes left to go here, so we'll get to a commercial break after this. All right, I'll play a little ad for you guys, and then we'll be right back. And then 8 p.m. tonight, I'll talk to Krause. I'll bring Krause on tonight. I see Diaz talking about his Kango last night. I told you, I'm used to it, brother. He's got a funky style, has his whole life, and he doesn't give a shit what anybody says about it. Gubby says, I drive CDL. What's that? Commercial driver's license, I think? CDL. Yeah. I drive CDL delivering propane bottles. And last summer, I stopped in front of a squirrel in the road, and Coach Nick and I looked at each other when he was on a walk in his neighborhood. Pretty good.
Wow, so you're in South Jersey then. Yeah. In a very ritzy part of South Jersey, Gubby Reynolds.
Delivering there, that's good. I think I know where Nick's at, too. I have a couple friends in that neighborhood, and apparently Bryce Harper. Oh, they all live there, Johnny. There's a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, a lot of Eagles. AJ lives there. But I'm not going to tell people where people live.
Yeah.
But you can figure it. Yeah, if you really want to, you can figure it out.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard to figure out. Good stuff. Appreciate everybody for being here tonight. Don't forget to hit that like button, everybody. As always, the numbers on birds have been excellent so far. So I do want to thank our audience and also our podcast listeners. You guys have been killing it as well, man. We are crushing it on the podcast, which is awesome because we've always been, much more of a YouTube show with a podcast that we post the audio. But I want to thank the audio listeners, and I also want to thank all of our great people here for being here, for liking, sharing, subscribing, supporting the channel, obviously super chats, memberships. We're going to have a very fun season here on JAKIB Sports. All right, we got a lot of stuff we'll be giving away, a lot of things we'll be doing. So thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. We'll be right back, everybody, in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Shot Takers and the Tastemakers. Welcome to the Viewfinders, the Thrill Seekers, and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We go the extra mile to lend a helping hand. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong. We've been deeply rooted in our communities for more than 85 years, and that connection to members has earned us our spot as the #1 health insurer in the region. So while you look out for your neighbors, know IBX is always looking out for you.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Welcome to the Jet Setters and the High Rollers, to the Thrill Seekers and the Night Owls. Welcome to everything you could possibly want on one 5-mile island. Welcome to the Wildwoods. Book your stay today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Wednesday nightcap edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter in town. Give him a follow at JF McMullen. Give me a follow at Zander Krause on all the platforms for me, and probably just X for you, right, John? You're not Instagram. There's too many effing platforms, Johnny Mac. There is too
I
many.
know, yeah, man. Same thing. I'm like, I don't know how people talk. I don't even know how people have, like, everybody's got burner accounts on Twitter or X. I'm like, what? Who's got time? I can't. Yeah. Instagram, Facebook. I can't stand Facebook.
They all suck, to be honest.
I have accounts because years ago I was forced to get them, but I haven't been on Facebook and I don't even know how Instagram works, so I'll take that hit. I don't know how it works.
John, they're a pain in the ass. One day I'm going to hire some guy for me and just say, like, dude, can you just manage all this for me? Post out what I say on shows and do all these different things. But one day we'll get there. Johnny Mac, good stuff with that. So joint practice #1 today in the books. They'll have joint practice #2 tomorrow. John, what's the agenda for the rest of the week with this team? They got joint practice #2 tomorrow. Tell us who's going to speak in the morning, and then they have a walkthrough on Friday, so probably no media availability. Friday we'll have our morning 8 to 10 a.m. show, and then a big Saturday preseason game at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's Eastern time, so put that in your guys' calendars. John, what's on the agenda for the rest of this week?
Yeah, tomorrow's the second final joint practice, 10 o'clock, same time as today. Nick Sirianni's going to talk at 9:40. I have no idea why Kevin Patullo talked earlier today. Something to do with the Browns having a coaches meeting. I don't know how that would affect the Eagles, but Nick's still going at 9:40 right before practice. And then a practice, players will have a walkthrough, which is closed on Friday as typical before the game on Saturday, as you mentioned, preseason game. And again, there were no third-team reps until one final developmental period today. So that is a good and clear indication that if you want to see the starters, you might as well go out and have some fun because you're not going to see the key components. Now, Vic, he's going to want to see the guys competing. But offensively, certainly it's going to be mainly the backups. I don't even know if Tanner McKee's going to play in this one.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
We'll see. I think he did enough to prove himself. This might be a Dorian Thompson-Robinson game against his old team and Kyle McCord, who
I was
needs.
hoping they would wait till game number 3 for that, John. Come on, give me something. Give me Tanner to start the game again, please.
Well, you might. They might give him a couple series or something like that. I mean, but it wouldn't shock me if they didn't.
Yeah,
That's for sure. Because he's getting plenty of reps.
Wouldn't you think if you were him, you would kind of want to play, like because you want to put more into? There's not that much out there
I
on
think
you.
players always want to play. They like playing. That the practice is the tough part. They like to play. So I think most would if you left it up to them, I think most would want to play, but got to make those decisions for the betterment of the team, and the Eagles have been pretty successful with that kind of stuff.
Yep, no doubt about it. Good stuff. Johnny Mack, as we've continued to move through camp, the Eagles made a trade a little bit earlier, about a week ago. I think it was last Monday, so you're looking at about 9 days ago. They brought in Jacorian Bennett, and still, we go to practice and we hear about the things that happen at practice, and we watch preseason game number 1, and nobody seems to be even building a lead at all there. Now, maybe it is Adoree Jackson. You said he kind of definitely looks like the best one, but has this become the top concern for you on this defense, or does that edge rusher holding on strong for you?
Yeah, edge rusher still my biggest concern.
Why does it concern you more than the corner?
Well, I think it's more important. I think, my worst case scenario is Adoree plays, and I think you're fine. Especially in a zone heavy defense to begin with. I think he can mask some things. So I think it's easier to fill that spot. Got to go rush the passer though.
Yeah. I just wonder, how much does the talent and the depth that they have on the interior not take away some of that concern, but subsidize it a little bit? That might be the wrong word for that. I'm not even sure.
Yeah. I don't think, and I'm surprised that the Eagles went into this point with as little proven as they have at edge rusher. And I don't think Uche's, started to get a little bit of hype, and he's been better than Ojulari, but I mean, I'm not hanging my hat on either of those two guys. To the point where I think Obo has been the best, to me, and he got cut by Cleveland.
You think Ojulari could get cut?
Yeah, when they can move on from him. I don't think they will, but
they got it. How many are they going to keep? 5? 4? Last year, what
five.
They had 5, right?
Probably 5. Yeah, probably 5. And APR hasn't done anything to make this team. As we always say, how he doesn't like cutting his draft picks, but to me, the most likely cut is still Obo, because I don't think, he's 30, and I don't think they see the upside there. But I think he's their third best edge rusher right now, just from a meritocracy standpoint. And that's not good enough.
All right, so you got Nolan, Jalix, Uche. You think Uche's a lock?
Yeah, right now he looks like a lock. Yeah.
And then do you think it's going to be Ojulari and Obo, or Ojulari and?
Yeah, I think he'll keep APR because upside, and like I said, Obo doesn't have, and you can do the wink with Obo, as I always say. You put him on the practice squad and say,
right,
hang out at the hotel for 2 days, and we'll bring him back. He's vested, so he doesn't have to go through waivers. So I think they'll keep APR because they always keep their draft picks if possible. But if they needed somebody to play, it wouldn't be Powell Ryland. They would elevate Obo from the practice squad. That makes sense. So really, Obo would be fifth, but because he's a veteran, they can use those tricks to keep Powell Ryland away from the waiver wire. Not that anything would pick him up, but Howie doesn't like cutting his picks. He's got too many this year, so he's going to.
What about those offensive linemen, Hinton and Williams, and
well, I mean, if you put Landon Dickerson on IR to start the season, which you can do now, you used to not be able to do that. You have two spots where you can designate guys to return. Then all of a sudden he's got a spot for Cam Williams.
Lane Johnson sat out today for the back half of the practice, right? Kind of because they just wanted to see the swing tackles.
Yeah. Seeing
anything on that front? Anybody look like they're emerging? You think it's going to be Kendall Land?
I think Matt Pryor's going to make the team. So I think if they think Matt Pryor can play left tackle along with right tackle, they know he can play right tackle. I think Kendall's potentially could be cut. Because again, if you have that swing tackle and you don't have to carry a backup right tackle and a backup left tackle, all of a sudden you have an extra spot for the young guys.
Right.
So a lot of that depends on how much confidence they have in Pryor to play left tackle if need be.
How does Brett Toth look, by the way, for filling in for Dickerson?
Yeah, I think it was fine, but I think, like I said, if I think it was very telling that when he was hurt that they moved Kennard, had only been taking reps on the right side to the left side immediately. And he started out, because he hadn't been taking any reps, he started out with the second team. I think if it gets to week one and Landon is not available, I think my money would be on Darian Kennard to be the left guard against Dallas.
Okay. So Kennard would be left guard. It's interesting because Pryor is like Pryor can play both, right? Guard and tackle.
Yeah, but he's been typically a right-handed player. That's what they're trying to figure out.
Right.
Like, if it were right guard, like I said, if Landon were out for the season, I think they would move Tyler Steen to left guard and play Matt Pryor right guard.
Right. But it's you do something different when it's a short term.
Yes. So, yeah, Matt's been a right-handed player. And that's why there's complications with him playing left tackle. And the same thing with left guard. Now, Kennard's only been a right-handed player. So if he can't do it, then it's got to be Toth in short term if Landon's not back. Because Kenyon Green's not going to be back either.
Yeah.
That
was kind of an under the radar thing that came out the other day, kind of, overshadowed by the Landon news everybody was waiting for. But Schefter, I think it was, put it out, and you retweeted it, I think is where I saw it, that he's done for the training camp. Yeah,
he's done for the entire preseason, so he's not going to be in the mix. But they, again, how he could save face. I don't know why he'd want to, but it was kind of a throw into the trade anyway. But he could put him on IR to start the season. But you only have two of those moves, so you got to be careful with it.
Good stuff. Johnny Mac, you spoke about Jalen Hurts earlier today. He spoke after practice, had a nice long talk with Shedeur Sanders. They were two of the last players to leave the field today. And then he spoke about the sense of confidence that he's gained after winning a Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on those comments and just kind of how Jalen, this version of Jalen as compared to what you've seen, how he's evolved, how he's changed, how he's grown as compared to previous years and even just last year?
Yeah, I thought that was the first time he's admitted that, you know, winning the Super Bowl has kind of shifted his thinking. I'm kind of surprised he admitted it. So maybe he's opening up a little bit. Always been very close to the best, very intentional, which is his word this season. But we were talking about that before with the promotion, and yeah, it gives you confidence to be, um, as he described it. Well, I did it once. Why can't I do it again? Um, which is a fair thing to say. But yeah, I mean, still Jalen Hurts. It's funny. I saw Peyton Manning was doing an interview on Pro Football Focus, their podcast. And Peyton has been very close to Jalen Hurts for long. He went to the Manning passing camp when he was young, and they've always stayed friends and, sort of like a mentor to him. So I'm trying to pull it up. I forget where I saw it, but it was a good quote from Peyton Manning. And it was about how serious he is. And
Yeah.
Peyton basically said, yeah, he's almost intimidating when you're in the room with him because he's so serious all the time.
Yeah, I think Chris Collinsworth said that. Yeah.
Was it Chris? I thought it was Peyton, but
Peyton talked about how he calls him, and he said he's very serious. And then Collinsworth kind of answered with, sometimes it can be intimidating when you're in.
Oh, okay. So Chris said that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I misunderstood it, but I just saw it.
Well, people put out these graphics, you know what I mean? These graphics.
Yeah.
It's tough to decipher.
But either way, I mean, yeah, he's very serious. Jeffrey Lurie, I always joke when he gave him the extension, called him the most mature 25-year-old. Obviously, he's now 27, but yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it because most guys are kind of goofballs at times and aren't as serious. And I think that's an under sort of reported part of his success because he takes it so seriously. And if you take it more seriously than everybody else, you're probably gonna have an advantage. And I think that's where he does have an advantage. But yeah, I guess Peyton's part was talking about the cerebral part of his game because that's something he takes pride in. So obviously he can run the ball well, throw the ball well, but to get to that next part, and when Peyton Manning's calling you a cerebral quarterback, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. So, yeah. He's an interesting guy because you don't normally see 25-year-olds. Now he's 27 who act the way he acts.
Definitely got a good head on his shoulders, no doubt about that. Has all the intangibles too, John, which I think are, I don't know. I mean, where do you think a lot of that conversation falls with him? Because it does seem like, John, there's so much different opinion. Some people have him great, some people don't have him so great. And I think a lot of people leave out some of that cerebral conversation because it's not something that shows up to the eye, if that makes sense. How do you think all those factors factor in on the evaluation of him as a player? And to be fair, I don't think he cares, which I think he's right about. Like, I think he made a comment recently, like, you guys wanted me to play a certain way, and I didn't win that way. And then I played this way and I won. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think he cares, but just your thoughts on the perception.
Well, I do think he cares more than he lets on because I think he uses a lot of, what he considers disrespect and fans consider disrespect, to fuel himself. But, my whole thing about the quarterback conversation has been, this is the thing, and I'm not trying to pump my own horn, but I think it's right, and I think nobody talks about it. And if somebody has talked about it, please point me to them. So when you look at all these lists, the latest being Mike Sando's quarterback tiers, I constantly say most of the NFL does not play like the Eagles.
Right.
So, when you're interviewing GMs and scouts and coaches, in the case of Mike, it's coaches and GMs, they're looking at the prism, the lens through their team. And they don't want to play like the Eagles. So insert name that you hate. We all know the quarterbacks Eagles fans think are terrible, but are really good. So they don't want to play the way the Eagles play. One, they don't have the patience to do it, to build up the proper way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the part that's missed. But, as I always describe it, he's a perfect fit for the Philadelphia Eagles. Who gives a shit if he's not a perfect fit for the Cleveland Browns or the, any other team who wants to play a different style of football?
And what's your thought process on the cerebral part of it? You personally, like your personal evaluation of that, and how much stock you put into it, or how much you think that makes for a quarterback, stuff like that.
Well, I think it's huge when you get to the Manning. Tom and Peyton are the two, to me, at least in the modern era, who could, basically run an offense from the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And to me, if you're the coordinator, get the fuck out of the way. And if you don't get out of the way, you got too big of an ego.
Exactly.
I don't think he's at that level. But when you, and there's very few, and there's arguably that could be a dying breed because of the way they play football now in college, and that's where guys are being trained, and they don't have the wherewithal. When you bring it into the newer generation, yeah, I think he's ahead of the game from most people. And you'll see the young quarterbacks this year and how much they struggle. But I think, one of the things is, more autonomy at the line of scrimmage, which it was able to do. And that's where you kind of look at the evolution, getting away from Jason Kelce, which seems like a terrible thing, to say. But I think that helped him in some ways.
I don't think that's terrible. I think it's kind of just the nature. You had
it's a Hall of Fame.
That's what I mean. You had a Hall of Fame center and a young quarterback. That was just kind of the hand he was dealt.
Yeah, exactly. So, getting moving on forced him to do certain things that he wasn't forced to do in the past. I still want to see him improve. Like, I remember going up to the Super Bowl. At that point, I had thrown up my hands and say, well, just run go routes.
Yeah, right.
Because they're not good on sight adjustments. They've never been good on sight adjustments. And that's got to get better. So there's still room for improvement, but
there's room for improvement on for everybody in the planet, John.
Well, yeah, even those guys, even Tom at the top, and nobody's perfect. They're all human beings. So nobody's perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. The NFL has a perfect passer rating. They like to call it 158.3, but it's not really perfect. It's a man-made perfect. So, he's a perfect fit for the Eagles. And that's why I don't understand why people get upset about, the Los Angeles Rams, would rather have Matthew Stafford. Well, they play a different way. And you're better than they are. So why worry about it?
Yeah. Johnny Mac joint practice day number 1 today in the books. Day 2 tomorrow. We'll see how it all shakes out tomorrow. Anybody from the Browns stick at you today? obviously Myles Garrett. I saw your picture that you put up of him getting off the bus, and you're just like, holy shit, that dude is a fucking beast.
I say I've seen him a million times, and I still say, holy shit.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
Like I always say, Les, our old buddy Les Bowen, I put out a different picture of Miles because he was right in front of me at one point. I snapped a picture, and it's like Les just tweeted back, he doesn't even need shoulder pads. He does that he doesn't. He's got these tiny little shoulder pads on, but yeah, he's a freak of nature. And to move the way he does at his size, it's just incredible to see in person. I mean, his first step is just he lines up on both sides. So Jordan and Lane both got reps against him. Eagles have some fun one-on-ones with him and Lane Johnson. They posted it because they have
how'd they do, Lane and Jordan against him?
It's pretty much a stalemate. You can watch it, but
yeah, that's what you would expect. But
on the touchdown to Devontae in the red zone, Lane got the best of him, held him off. But there was this one play where he was on the right end where he mainly plays. So over Jordan, and they put they had 13 personnel. So they had Jordan, 2 tight ends, and then a third tight end on the other side. And Jalen immediately took the snap and rolled right away from Myles Garrett. And he chased Jalen Hurts, mind you, who's a pretty good running quarterback, chased him down on the opposite end of the field. And, he was faster. He's faster.
It's crazy.
It's incredible to see in person. So that was the most impressive.
Do you think he's one of the best football players you've ever gotten to see live and in person?
Oh yeah. Second most impressive practice I've ever seen. The most impressive was Tom Brady.
You told me that. Tom Brady. What was that? What year was that?
I have to look up the year because they all run together.
Patriots or was
it was the Patriots. Yeah, it was the Chip Kelly era. So I wasn't doing it full time, but I was at the sports network. I was national, so I'd go down every once in a while. And
did you live up here when you were national?
Yeah.
I think you were in Minnesota, right, for a while?
Yeah. When I was in Minnesota, I covered the Vikings. But
right.
Then I came back here and I was doing national stuff.
Right.
And I go down to the Eagles once a week, not full like I do now. And that, but I wanted to see the Patriots, obviously, because I would do it from both ends. Normally, when I would go down there, it would be more for the Patriots. The Ravens would practice, and it was more for the other team than the Eagles. But so it's paying a lot more attention to the Patriots. But just the accuracy, I've never seen so much cursing in my life because every single throw, and it was on the far field for people that know the NovaCare complex. So, you're right on the sideline as a media person. And they were doing 101s on the right-hand side, and every single cornerback would walk back to the line and just say, fuck.
Right.
And just the accuracy was unbelievable. I've never seen.
You got to be perfect to cover it.
Yeah. I've never seen a quarterback with better ball placement ever. Now, I never saw Aaron up close because I think Aaron was at his height. I always say is nobody's ever played the position at a higher level than Aaron Rodgers at his height. So I think he might have been better, but that is really elite. Those guys.
That's pretty good stuff. Myles Garrett, Tom Brady. Who else, John? Who else have you seen?
I still remember Jared Allen. Jared Allen when he was.
I love Jared Allen.
I'm proud of this one because he was a 4th round pick of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm aging myself, but they used to have something called the Cheese League, where a bunch of teams would train in Minnesota and Wisconsin because it was cooler, at least compared to other places. And this is when there were 2-a-days and training camp was a bigger thing. So the Chiefs would practice in Thief River Falls, Wisconsin, and the Vikings were in Mankato. So, and they would always have joint practices. One would go to the Vikings. That year was Thief River. It was in Wisconsin. So that year was Thief River Falls, I believe. And I had no idea who Jared Allen was. I was covering the Vikings. He was on the Chiefs at the time. So he actually went to the Vikings, but he wasn't on the Vikings at the time. And 4th round rookie, had no idea who he was. And I'm just watching one-on-ones, and he is just killing people. I mean, killing people as a pass rusher. And to the point I had to ask, who the hell is this kid? And, and all of a sudden, years later, he's in the Hall of Fame. Unbelievable pass rusher. Unbelievable.
He was, man. I remember him. I was really young when he was playing, but I remember him, man.
Yeah, he's great. One of the best pure pass rushers I've ever seen. And it was from day one. You could see it from day one.
Such a good story. Such a good story coming in like that. John Mack, great show tonight. We got 17 minutes left to play. Preseason game will be Saturday at 1. Joint practice number 2 tomorrow. Coming into joint number 2, John. What do you think the approach is? How do you think it changes? I mean, I think you look at these as an opportunity to work on things. Do you think they will work on different things tomorrow as compared to what they did today, or is it going to be another inside zone and check down day?
Yeah, I think they will work on some different things because why are you just trying to win Elliott's practice battles? I mean, you're trying to work on stuff. So I would think they would shift things up and try to work on different things. That's my hope. Because they were very successful with the inside zone stuff. So, that's a check mark. Move on to other stuff, hopefully. And, I'll probably make the wrong decision. So I'm going to be looking at the defense tomorrow. And, I still think the Eagles won the practice. I put that in quotations, but it was way closer than I thought it should be. Because, Cleveland's not very good at this point. They don't have, the quarterbacks they won out there are Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. Kenny couldn't do teamwork because he's working back there.
Big, man. I always forget how big he is.
Oh, he's huge.
You see a picture of him and you're like, did you tweet that out today of him with Vic Fangio? And I'm just like,
yeah,
holy shit.
Him and Vic. Yeah.
Flacco is a big dude, man.
Oh yeah. He's massive.
What is he, 6'6", probably?
Yeah, 6'6". About 230, 240, probably in his prime. He's 240. Yeah, he's a big dude. So another thing, Dante Culpepper. I'm telling old stories, man. If you remember Dante Culpepper, that was a different era when he was a first-round pick in Minnesota. I was covering them, and the first time I saw that guy, that was my first thing. This guy's a quarterback. Now there's big guys all over the place.
Right.
I had never seen a quarterback just bigger than all the linebackers on the team. He was the first guy I've ever seen that big. He's like 6'4", 260. And he could move. So he was a really unique player too. So that's where you get all the Viking stuff, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know. You a fan? People love to speculate John's a fan. I'm like, I promise you, of all my conversations with John McMullen in life, I don't think he's a fan of the Vikings.
Well, I think a lot of people would hear me talk about the Eagles now and say I'm an Eagles fan because I cover the Eagles. And I know a lot about the Eagles. When I covered that team, I knew a lot about that team. It's the way it works.
No doubt about it. 13 minutes left to go. Let me get to some super chats here tonight. Appreciate everybody for being here. Jack checks in. What's up, Jack? Xander, J-Mac, thanks for the late show. Jacob, thank you, Jack. Appreciate it, brother. Thanks for being here, more importantly. All right. Abe says, your all-star 11 players in DC. Who would it be? That's a big one. All-star 11 players and defensive coordinator. Holy shit. You want John to build an all-time defense right now, Abe?
All time?
I don't know what he wants.
Yeah, I don't know. All time, I mean, Reggie's going to be on it. Ray Lewis is going to be on it.
All time. I mean,
Joe Green's going to be on it.
How about guys you've covered? Oh, no, Abe says all time.
Deacon Jones is going to be on it as a pass rusher. Dick Butkus has probably got to be on it.
This is too hard to do all time. Can we do guys you've covered?
Well, that is too centric to two teams, really. But, you know, in the modern era.
What about guys in your era of covering?
Well, I mean, you know, Aaron Donald's going to be on it. He's, you know, I immediately default to him.
Right. Got to put Jared Allen on there, right?
Well, there's a lot of good pass rush. I mean, Jared's in the conversation, but I mean, there's I'd have to think about it. I'm actually better with the old timers because those guys, to me, having seen them, like there's a legend built up with the Joe Greens of the world and Jim Browns. Jim Brown would obviously be on the offense. That, you know, when you see players and cover players, you don't get that same feeling. Like, how could he live up to Jim Brown? He's probably better, but and I try to grade people in their eras because obviously the strength, you know, guys used to have to joke around, sell insurance back in the day in the off season. Now it's their full-time job. And what I said earlier, they have nutritionists and chefs and all this availability to get their bodies up to speed. Derrick Henry famously spends $750,000 a year keeping his body in tip-top shape. Couldn't do that back in the day, but yeah, that's a tough one. But you know, I always talk. You if you listen to the show, you hear me talk about the guys. Peyton's one of those guys. Peyton Manning, I think, is the best, most consistent week-to-week quarterback who ever lived. Which is important to me, playing that position. Aaron Donald is one of the best defensive players I've ever seen. Myles Garrett, Tom, Aaron, you know, at those positions. Barry Sanders, obviously. Adrian Peterson, I got to cover. I got to cover Randy Moss. John Randall's another player I got to cover. Here, Jason Kelsey. Lane Johnson's the best right tackle maybe in the history of football. I truly believe that. Fletcher Cox, I think, is somehow underrated. It's a phenomenal player. Yeah, I got lucky. I got lucky from some of the players I've gotten to cover over the years.
It's pretty sick, John. It's a pretty cool collection of knowledge and experiences and things you've seen on the football field. Good stuff. Keith checks in. What's up, Keith? Where does Tyreek Hill rank for you at practice?
Well, you know, I did get to see Tyreek in the joint practices, and he tapped out Slay, which was one of the funniest moments, I think, because it was so hot in Miami, and Tyreek Hill came out and just destroyed Slay deep right away. And Slay said, all right, I'm done. Yeah, he's impressive too. I mean, when you talk about there's so many fast guys in this league, so many fast guys. Like if you run a 4.4 now, you're fast, but you're not. And Tyreek Hill's faster than them all.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been for a while. So that's always impressive to me. I always say when your peers are in awe of you, that's when I know you're really freaking good.
Right.
And he's in that category. Aaron's in that category. Aaron Donald, Randy was in that category. Mike Vick was just here the other day back for the game they're going to have at Lincoln Financial Field. He's in that. His peers were in awe of him. AP was like that. Saquon's like that. Lane's like that. Those are the guys you know who are really special. I should have listened to Malcolm Jenkins. The Giants, because Malcolm told me right away, like Saquon was freaking good. But the Giants were so bad, they dragged him down. And like I always said, I got to cover Peterson, and Peterson was on some bad teams, and it didn't drag him down. So I was like, well, what's missing? Well, I was wrong. Malcolm was right.
He got inducted there. What did they announce today with him?
Gonna go in the Eagles Hall of Fame, Malcolm Jenkins and Bucko Kilroy for you 1940s Eagles fans.
There you go, Bucko Kilroy.
Eagles Hall of Fame.
I think that's deserving for Malcolm. I think that's
yeah. He's definitely an Eagles Hall of Famer. Yeah. He's not going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but he's definitely an Eagles Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty good stuff there. We got a super. Nate just said, I'm going to throw a pile of gasoline to end the show. He says, if Justin Herbert is so much better than Hurts, then why at every level of football, Hurts has been better than Herbert, never been in Heisman or MVP talk. NFL don't know how to rate QBs. They're dumb. Well, I mean, Herbert kind of went to, Herbert didn't go to as good of a school. I mean, I don't know. I think Jalen Hurts is better, Nate, so I can't really answer your question. But, John, your response.
Yeah, well, again, I don't understand the Eagles fans' obsession with Justin Herbert. I have no problem for people that rate Jalen Hurts better than Justin Herbert. And I have no problem with people that rate Justin Herbert better than Jalen Hurts. Again, if you're listening to the show, the people you're looking at lists in the case of the Sando list, which he was ahead of Jalen, in the case of the Fowler list, which he was ahead of Jalen, that's what I assume you're talking about. Again, they're talking to coaches and executives. How many teams, Nate the God, how many teams do you see that play like the Eagles? So if you're in a different team and you don't want to play like the Eagles play, and you want a more traditional quarterback and you want to run a more traditional offense, Justin Herbert's going to finish on top. Doesn't mean he's a better fit for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I don't really think he's a better quarterback.
I mean, I wish people would listen to that explanation. I think it would explain it to them. So if you're so there's 32 other teams, 31 other teams, but there's 32 teams. And on those, forget about Philadelphia. And I know that's difficult for Eagles fans because they don't watch other teams. But of those 31 other teams, who's a better fit for most of them?
Yeah, makes sense what you're saying there.
That's the reason. And he's also really fucking good, which I don't get that part of it from Eagles fans.
Well, really I'm not saying he's not good. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's all he's cracked up to be. But hey, maybe he is. Maybe you're right. Maybe he's Matthew Stafford, and then once he gets out of there or gets to a better team, or maybe maybe Harbaugh is the guy to make it happen. Maybe he does. Maybe he does win. But so far, I don't think he's shown enough for me to put him.
We don't have enough time. I mean, yeah. Again, if you think football is quarterback versus quarterback, which they never said on the field. They never step on the field at the same time. But if you think football is boiled down to quarterback versus quarterback, then yeah, Jalen's better. But that's not what football is.
I liked Marcus. We had Marcus Hayes on today, John, in the afternoon. And he got asked the question about Jalen. And he kind of went off, and he's like, quarterback rank, the whole thing is bullshit. So I don't give a shit who's in your top 5, because if you put everybody can make the argument of if a guy was on this team, he would be better. If a guy was on this team, he would be worse. That goes for every quarterback in the league. So the only real metric to go off of is who wins. So I don't know if you agree with that, but that's kind of just
absolutely not. And I like Mark. No, because you can't win without a good supporting cast. And you just brought up a guy who's a perfect example. And I would tell people for years, and I would argue on this very show with Jody McDonald about how good Matthew Stafford was. But he didn't win because he was on a shitty team and a shitty organization with a shitty supporting cast. But guess what? He was better then than when he won. That to me, and I love Marcus, but that is lowest common denominator bullshit. That is the low-hanging fruit to John Elway. Perfect example. John Elway was the best quarterback in football when he was losing Super Bowls. When he was winning Super Bowls, he was carried on the back of Terrell Davis, who set the NFL rushing record that Saquon Barkley just broke. 25 years it stood. So no, it's not about who wins. Ben Roethlisberger played his worst game in his life when he won his first Super Bowl. It is bullshit. It is lowest common denominator bullshit. Otherwise, the best quarterback, whoever you think it is, I think it's Joe Burrow right now, would win every single year. And it doesn't work that way. In fact, it rarely is the best quarterback wins. Because in many years, Tom won, Aaron was the best quarterback.
History goes to the victors, though, Johnny Mac. Everybody talks about Tom Brady.
Well, history is written by the victors, but the victors often lie.
Well, that I completely agree with. But who's widely regarded as the best quarterback of all time, even if he's not as talented as Aaron?
Well, Tom's in the conversation. There's tons of people, historians, who believe Joe was the best quarterback. There's tons of people who
I'm just saying, who's viewed, forget Joe and all the other guys. Tom or Aaron.
You got guys who think Johnny Unitas is the best quarterback. Otto Graham's the best quarterback. But Tom's in the conversation. As long as you're in the conversation, that's all that matters to me. I don't believe Tom is the best quarterback of all time, but he's won the most, at least in the Super Bowl era. And that, people can go back to Otto Graham, which doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, if you're in that group, that's all that should matter. But everybody, but the part that Marcus said about, you could say that about everybody in supporting cast. That's true. That part's true. Where he goes off the rails is, so the only definition is winning. No, that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. Because guess what? If Howie Roseman wasn't here and this was a shitty roster and Jalen was playing at an even, and by the way, he'd probably be playing at a higher level from an individual standpoint, because he'd have to lift up his teammates. If people think he'd win with a shitty supporting cast, you're fucking nuts.
I love it. Get a little F-bomb to close the show. One more super. He says, J-Mac, what is a skull?
A skull? Oh, it's I thought you said skull.
Skull. I don't know what. How do you pronounce that?
Skull. That's skull. That's like a cheers chant, basically, for Norwegians.
I think Pumper's messing with you, John, because he thinks you're a Vikings fan. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, no, they do the skull chant.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So it's basically, it's like cheers in Norwegian.
Yeah.
It's a toast, essentially. Cheers.
Good stuff. Johnny Mac, great show tonight, brother. Your final thoughts on the show. We'll talk to you tomorrow. It'll be a nightcap edition, day number 2 of joint practice tomorrow coming up.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
All right. No final thoughts from John. Thanks for being here, J Mac. Appreciate that. Johnny Mac joining us here on Birds 365. A great 2-hour show tonight. Wrapping up practice number 1 and practice number 2 tomorrow for the Philadelphia Eagles. So good stuff on that front. We'll keep you guys posted on that. I want to make sure I got all the comments. We got all the comments tonight. I want to thank everybody for being here. I am going to go to, I told you I'm going to bring up Krause tonight. All right. So we got Big Joe Krause. All right. I call him Krause because that's been his name since I can remember. So let's bring him up right now. I don't know. Have we ever? Yeah, we've done shows together. Krause, what's going on? How you doing, man?
Well, coming in off an F-bomb from Johnny Mac, that's pretty exciting and pretty good stuff. That's a pretty defined statement by John, but good to be here. A lot of people in the chat may have had a chance to catch me on with Big Sills today on the National Football Show. But when I sat in your chair last night, Zander, and talked about and sat in for Birds 365. By the way, I had a really nice night last night doing that. Thank you for letting me in that chair. I'm glad to get in here tonight and talk about our promotion and our partnership with Savvy Seats. It has been already from this afternoon, Zan, a lot of great reach out, and we're just going to do something really cool for a lot of JAKIB Nation. And specifically, if you're a small business, we've got a partnership plan for you or outline for you. And if you're not, that's okay too, because JAKIB Nation is the #1 sports digital network in the market, and we've got it for you as well. So I'm really super excited about Savvy Seats and our partnership for the 2025 season.
Krause, 5 years on this channel. This is probably one of our coolest promotions yet. You know, how many times you come across a sponsorship opportunity that results in sending the great people that support this channel to games like that? I think it's a really cool opportunity. And obviously, you know, people were calling me Santa last year because we're giving everything away. I'm like, I get that from Krause. I've been watching him give away stuff for years at shows. This is one of the coolest promotions I think we've ever had on the channel.
Well, you know what? And Tommy Gucciotto is the name of the founder and owner of Savvy Seats. And you know this, I've been working with him for 3 years. And the end result of what he does for the individuals that purchase tickets from him or attend his tailgates and his events, every single one of those individuals are thrilled beyond their highest expectation. And you know, Zan, when I hear that, and I know that we're going to be able to provide great value, and we're going to be able to do it and allow somebody to be able to do it in a value-based way, in an affordable way, I'm in on that. You know, and that concierge service, that VIP service that he provides, that's right in line with who I am. I'll always be that way and until I leave this world. So I'm super excited about the ability to be able to do that. And we got good response already off of this afternoon show. So I'm excited about that as well.
Reset the slate, Krause. What, for those who didn't see her, what do they have to do? What do they get? What's, you know, what has to be done here for this to be achieved? And I'll put your number on the screen because I know you're going to tell people to shoot you a text, but kind of lay it out as if it's your first time doing it. And I will play our 2-minute spot as well that explains it also in detail, so we can share that as well after you're done.
Well, Savvy Seats obviously is a provider of sports tickets, concert tickets, entertainment tickets, and all, and they do all kind of live events. So through our negotiated partnership with Savvy Seats, they have allocated for a much lower cost than it would normally be 3 pairs of tickets for each game on the Eagles' schedule, both home and away. So, there's 17 games on that regular season schedule. Kansas City's on there. Chicago is on there. Dallas is on there, obviously. Tampa Bay is on there. So to be able to have 3 pairs of seats for each one of those games and make it so below the cost of the market was just real dynamite. And then for all of our small business owners, I put together a 20-week sponsorship package for them, which will give their business real prime time exposure across the JAKIB Sports Network, including all of our game day stuff. So when and you know better than I, the numbers, the amount of people, and the amount of consumption of content that takes place on JAKIB Sports is really second. There's no one else in the market to do it. And I know you will not be the one to tell everybody this, but I was preparing an outline today for an individual. Let me just see if I can pull it up real quick, because I want to make sure that I reference this correctly. And this, think about this for a moment, Zander, and this is for JAKIB Nation. YouTube has ranked JAKIB Sports in the top percentile of sports media, not only in Philadelphia, but nationwide. And here's the big thing: outperforming giants like ESPN, CBS Sports, and Barstool in engagement depth. It's just unbelievable how strong JAKIB Nation is. And that's just a strong motivator for us to do and try and give back. I mean, that's what it's all about. So, we're going to have a lot of fun. What I want people to do, if they're interested in getting details, there's got to be a game on the schedule you want to go to. Text Krause at 267-261-3428. Again, 267-261-3428. Shoot me a text. Give me your name and your email information. You want to give me a little bit of a story or a little history or a game that you want to attend. Remember, I only got 3 pairs for each game. You want to go to that Dallas opener on a Thursday.
I'm sure they're flying too. You were on Cilia. Your phone was blowing up after that.
Phone was blowing up. Phone was blowing up today. But the cool thing about it was all over the yard. Right. In terms of, I want to go to the Detroit game, the Chicago game. I want to go to the Vikings game and do this.
Dad, you know what the other thing is here? Krause, I should call it Krause on the air, but just my dad, everybody, for those who know, we got one of the best traveling fan bases in the world. So they go to every game. Philly fans show up no matter where they play. They show up. So that's gonna be great as well.
Well, and I don't want to thank you for reminding me of that. I don't want to miss the opportunity here to talk about 3 bus trips that we're going to put together in partnership with Savvy Seats. So we're going to do the New York game in New York. We're going to do the Washington game in DC. And then, unless I'm proven otherwise, and I don't think I will be, December 28th in Buffalo, we're already actively planning that trip. And so we're going to leave on Saturday about 9-10 a.m. The bus will depart from Philadelphia. We're not taking a school bus. We'll be on a luxury cruise bus, taking it up to Buffalo. We'll get into Buffalo between 3 and 4. We'll check into the hotel. And then Sunday, we're doing a big, huge tailgate at the stadium. What a day that's going to be. The killer will be if we need to pack the bus with snow shovels. But other than that,
you might go to Buffalo, man. You might go to Buffalo.
At that time.
That's a late game, too. That's not December game, right? Or is that January?
That's December 28th. So you're coming out of the Christmas holiday. It's December 28th. Saturday the 27th is when we get on the road. And Zander, I'm going to be on the bus. So I'm rolling up on the bus, I believe, for that game. If not, I got to get a couple of chaperones on there just to make sure everybody finds their way around. But really, really super excited about that. We'll roll those details out once we start to kick off our game day coverage when the regular season gets underway.
Yep, a lot of good stuff, man. A lot of great, obviously the tickets here that you have, all the great giveaways we're going to have on the channel this year. Going to be a fun season coming up, man. I'm excited for this season. I feel like,
by the way, and you know this, Zander, these seats aren't upstairs.
No,
these are VIP seats, where they are selected in a way that your best interest is the priority in the seats. And that's what I love so much about Tommy Gucciotto and Savvy. They know everybody at the stadiums. They know when the last minute releases are going to be pushed out. They know how to get the right seats. And they do it on a one-on-one basis. Now,
that's a little inside baseball right there. A lot of people don't understand how the ticket market works with that.
Oh yeah. No, 100%. I mean, there's the release of the tickets, then there's the tickets, then there's the holds, then there's the leftovers.
Exactly.
And if you're not in the know, you're not in the know, and they are. And we're going to be able to take advantage of that for everybody that can get in as part of JAKIB Nation. And by the way, Savvy Seats does everything from baseball to concerts to big live events. So we're going to build with them. That's my commitment and what I signed up with when we did the partnership deal. It's not about the money for me. It's about the ability to create a tremendous experience and use our platform to give back to those that have supported you and what you've built. So welcome to you.
Listen, and some more context on the powerful platform that we have. You mentioned the big names, ESPN, some of those other guys. And I was actually funny you said bring this up today because I was speaking about this a little bit this morning at the end of my football 24/7 today when I was solo. A lot of people get a lot more views than JAKIB, right? But nobody has viewers like JAKIB. People come in. They come in every single day. They watch for 30, 40, 50 minutes, sometimes hours. And that's what makes our audience so valuable is that it's not flash in the pan views. It's not virality, 1 million here, and they show up for a minute on a short and dip out. It's not once in a blue moon they click on a video. These are people that are here every day. They show up every day. And that's why we have such a great audience. That's why we have such a powerful community.
Well, and to your point, I will take, and I'm not being disrespectful to anybody else. I've been in the space for too long to do that.
Yeah.
I will take JAKIB Nation, and I will put JAKIB Nation up against Barstool, CBS, ESPN, anyone else. I don't even put them up against anybody in the market. You know why? We already are. And again, this isn't arrogance. This is fact. We already are the most powerful #1 digital network in Philly. And again, that's not arrogance. That is a tribute to JAKIB Nation, which again, that's the driver for the Savvy Seats partnership. And I'm stoked, man. I'm very, very excited.
All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the spot so people can see that. And then I want you to stick around. I actually got a couple questions for you that I want to ask you a little bit off this, but I want to get your take on some of the Eagles things. If you remember last year, come playoff time, we actually kicked around some Eagles things. We had a couple discussions. I want to do that with you for a little bit. I won't keep you long. And then I also have to ask you, Krause, you've done Philly scorecards. I think we're 119 games in. Tonight would be game 120. If I'm not mistaken, it might be 119. I have to double check, but they currently trail 8-0. I know you have them on in your studio right now, but they trail 8-0. But I do want to ask you about them because they're playing really good baseball right now, and there's potentially a team to watch. So let me play the spot. I want to thank everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Text Krause 267-261-3428 to get involved in this. All right, and I'm going to play the spot right now. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back in just about 3 minutes.
The following is a presentation of JAKIB Sports.
If you're a small business owner or you work for a company that loves the birds, You need to react fast to our entire ticket allocation. And here's why. In celebration of JAKIB Media's new partnership with Savvy Seats, JAKIB Media will give you a pair of VIP tickets for any game on the 2025 schedule, home or away. And we'll give your company or your boss a 20-week media sponsorship package across the #1 digital network for Eagles coverage, JAKIB Sports. And that includes all of our game day coverage. Cost for your business or company? About $50 a week. Let's recap everything. 20-week sponsorship package on JAKIB Sports, including commercial spots, live reads, and liners. Inclusion in all of our game day coverage, including the soon-to-be-announced Green Zone, and a pair of tickets to the home opener or any game on the 2025 regular season schedule. Remember, that's home or away. If you're in Kansas City and you want to go to the game against the Chiefs, no problem. If you live in Florida and you want to go to the game in Tampa Bay at the end of September, no problem. Text Krause at 267-261-3428. That's 267-261-3428. And remember, do it quickly before this incredible gift is gone. JAKIB Sports and Savvy Seats put you right in the action with VIP seating, as we are proud to announce our partnership for the 2025 season with Savvy Seats. Text Krause right now at 267-261-3428. That's 267-261-3428. And pick your game today. If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Back here on a nightcap edition, closing out Birds 365. I'm here with Krause here on JAKIB Sports. There you go. There's the promotion. Great spot there, Krause. And this is a really great opportunity for all of our great people on JAKIB Nation to get a part, to take part in and to have a chance to get some tickets and all those fun things.
Yeah, that home opener against the Kansas City home opener is when the Eagles come into town. So if you happen to be out there, and I've already got one of the three pairs already taken off the board for that game, but to be able to go to that game in Kansas City might be an experience that you'll never have another opportunity to do. But just one of many on the schedule. A lot of interest in the Tampa Bay game at the end of September. Now, maybe perhaps because I referenced that, but all over the board, man. All over the board in terms of people that are going to be able to take advantage of it or that want to take advantage of it. And if you want to do it, I'll try and figure it out for you so you can do it. I give you my
text them 267-261-3428. Thank you, everybody. You notice in the break, I had to throw on the Kango crowd. I had to throw on the background. I'm getting comments, Krause. You know, I got somebody who said to me today, they said, "Man, what did you think of that Kango last night? That thing was crazy." I said, "I loved it, and I'm used to it because he's been doing that since the day I was born." And you're rocking another fire one tonight, Krause. You know, I started wearing these hats that last year in the season, and people are like, "Why do you wear this hat?" I'm like, "You guys don't know. I'm a Krause. I do media, and I wear Kango hats. All right, it's in my blood." Everybody, it's in my blood, but I just wanted to shout you out for your awesome hats. Everybody loves them, and it's funny because it's been just a part of my life forever. You know what I mean? You've always been the guy that was, "Hey, your dad's the guy with the hats, right?" "Yeah, that's my dad." And now people get to see it in person, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, good stuff, man. Appreciate it. And you know me, I'll always have a different Kango to wear or to rock. And
I'm surprised you didn't change at the break.
I thought about doing that, but I changed from my appearance on Cilio today, so I figured that was,
that was a nice one. I like that one. That was sweet.
By the way, game number 120 on the Phillies tonight. And as you said, they're losing. Or last I checked, they were down. They haven't scored a run yet, and they were down 8-0. They lost the game last night 6-1. They didn't get a run until the 9th when Bryce Harper hit a solo shot. So, and they leave Cincinnati. They go to Washington for 4 to wrap up what is the 10-game road trip, longest road trip of the season for the Phillies. So we'll see how they make out. They're going to lose tonight, obviously, but we'll see how they make out. Starting tomorrow night in Washington.
Yeah, we're gonna cover that a little bit. So when we get off here, we'll be recording a Philly scorecard right after this because that game's in the top of the 8th inning. So we'll post up a Philly scorecard. Looks like a devastating loss for the Phils tonight, but overall good baseball. Before we get into them, I just wanted to ask you a couple questions, and we won't go too big, but I do think you're going to be a much bigger part of the channel this football season. As compared to last year. So people want to hear from you. I got a comment today. Whoa, we need more Big Joe. We need more Big Joe. I said, all right, I'll get him in here. Your thoughts on the Eagles. I've been doing the shows all off season. I'm not talking about micro things. I'm not talking about the cornerback battle. I'm talking about you're coming off a historic season, a season in which me and you had the opportunity to end it on a float on Broad Street together with the entire city of Philadelphia, almost 2 million people there. It's tough to live up to that. It's tough to do that again. Where is your head on this Eagles team? You've obviously watched a lot of football in your life. What do you think about this Eagles team coming into this year?
Well, I will tell you this. Up until I hosted for you last night on Birds 365, and John and I ended up in a discussion specifically talking about the number one defense from a year ago,
right,
and where they're going to be this year, and balancing that against how much more the offense is going to have to do to compensate for the drop off on defense.
Right.
And I'm not so sure. I mean, I'm not as not confident, maybe is the wrong word. I'm not so positive that the Eagles are going to be able to make it all the way back. Do I want them to? Absolutely. On the surface, do I think so? Yes. But it's awful tough to do it, and I do believe that Achilles heel, if the defense goes from 1 to 10 or 1 to 14 or 1 to 13, that probably translates to 2 or 3 more drives for the opposing offense.
Good point.
Maybe more. And within that, if you're going to score, a good team's going to score on average every second drive they're on the field. That could be the difference. Or when your number one defense came up with the play to get you off the field, that was a game difference. So a year ago, especially Jalen Carter's sack in that Rams game is the reason the Eagles ultimately won that game. That was a touchdown, lights out, game over. So, so we'll see how it plays out. I'm psyched. I want to do another parade down in City Hall.
Too. That's how I said to everybody. I'm like, I'm ready to get another parade float. Put the truck back on Broad Street. We'll get even more people out this time because we'll have an advanced idea of what we're going to do for it. And I think it'd be an amazing thing. Where are you on Jalen Hurts? What do you think of him? I mean, look, he's one of those guys, John, that he's just talked about all over. I mean, some people love him. Some people don't love him. You hear Celia, you hear me. What do you think of Jalen Hurts?
Well, he's a winner, and, that's my initial thought. He's going to have to play better. He's going to have to play better or play comparable to the season that they didn't win the Super Bowl when he outplayed Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and he didn't win. He's not going to be able to have a duplicate of last season.
And you say that why? Because of what you said about the defense?
Because of the defensive deficiency. And I also will tell you this. I am not a huge Jahan Dotson fan. And I'm very nervous or very concerned about wide receiver 3. And John McMullen corrected me last night. And he said, hey, you're not going to get a lot of balls when you're wide receiver, when you're the third in this offense. Well, I don't agree with that. And everybody was
I got all excited in that first preseason game, not because Darius Cooper was on the field for 35 snaps or whatever. He made great plays and everything else. But it was nice to see a player like that be big in a big moment. And that was his big moment.
I agree.
You know, and I just haven't seen that much from Dotson. I know he got a couple of great catches in the Super Bowl, the first two and everything else, but I hope he's a lot better than I think he is. And I'm not the expert, by the way.
Yeah, well, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, I don't think he's the biggest worry, obviously. You know, I think John's right in the sense that you have so many players on the team. I mean, Dotson's not going to make or break, I don't think, the season, but I do think it would add another element to the offense. I mean, I've been a Darius Cooper truther since I watched that guy. You know, you watch a lot of football. Sometimes you watch a guy and you're just like, that guy can play. All right. Like that guy can play. That's what I saw with him. Now, obviously, it's a preseason game. Obviously, he hasn't proven it on a long term or on a bigger level or a bigger stage. But I do think he's a good guy to add to the locker room. So we'll see how it all shakes out, though. I think we got a great season in front of us. I think the team is in a good position, but they definitely have some questions, and we'll see how it shakes out. Let's kick over real quick to the Phillies and just close up there. You've done the scorecards all year long. And the reason I say that is the Phillies season is very long. And even sometimes the most staunch viewers, you know, you don't see every inning, you don't see every game, but you always look for the update. You always follow along. You make sure you know if they won or they lost. But you've watched a lot of baseball this year.
I really have.
You've watched all the Phillies games this year.
I mean,
right now, where do you think they stand?
I haven't been able to do that for 30 years.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And by the way, growing up, I mean, you always told me I love baseball.
Yeah.
And you're obviously such a hardworking guy. You've obviously been an incredible father. And with that comes a lot of time constraints and responsibilities. What do you think of this team right now? You think this team is a legitimate shot to go and do it?
Yeah, I do. I think they're built. You know, I think Dombrowski should get a lot of credit for how they're built. I think Joanne Duran was the right pickup.
Yeah.
I love what Rob Thompson is currently doing with the platoon of his outfield pieces, and I don't think he needs to be pressured into not doing that. You know, play the guy who's hot, and if it's not Bader and it's Marsh, that's okay. I really do believe, you know, Jeff Kerr, who's from CBS Sports, who you have on Birds 365 a lot, put out a great stat. You know, Jeff Kerr is incredible with stats. Put out a great stat yesterday or the day before about the effectiveness of the Phillies bullpen and what they've been in the last 22 innings of work. And it's staggering. So I think they're built to win. You know, the Mets have fallen off, but the Mets aren't going to be the team that is going to make the difference between the Phillies going or not out of the National League. It's not going to be the Mets. So, you know, from that standpoint, or at least at this point, it doesn't appear.
I think you're right. I don't think they're built to win the big ones here this year.
So, and they're hitting well. Listen, they're hitting well. Trey Turner's
concerned on their approach, though, at the plate. You know, they live and die by that long ball. Sometimes they don't advance the runners. Sometimes I just, you know, Krause, when I was a kid, I always tell people this story on Zander time and stuff. You know, even basketball, right? You used to say to me, stop shooting the ball outside. Go under the hoop, take your left hand, and go like this 1,000 times. Take your right hand, go like this 1,000 times. Make 1,000 layups in a row, and every time you miss, restart at 0. And once you do that, then you can start to go out. Fundamentals. You taught me fundamentals. You know, you're 5'11" or whatever you are. You played center in basketball, and you played center in football. You know, you can't do that without fundamentals. Sometimes I think the Phillies' approach at the plate lacks fundamentals. What do you think of that?
Well, I'll counter you on this because this is what's happening. The bottom half of the lineup is delivering fundamental baseball, meaning they're not relying on Schwarbombs and Harper, although Harper's hitting really well right now. But the ball's jumping off of Marsh's bat. Stott is starting to get back into a rhythm. They're playing really, really good baseball in the bottom of the lineup, which ultimately is what's happening is it's leading into turning over that lineup into Trey and getting back into that top half of the lineup. You know, if you go back to the early part of, I want to say June coming into July, and even at different periods, the bottom of the lineup was non-existent, and the Phillies didn't do as well,
right,
or win as many games in a consistent day-to-day fashion. And I remember when there was all kind of question about, hey, is Trey Turner is he gonna start hitting? Is he a big bust and everything else? Well, he's hitting the baseball. He's fast as shit, man. Boy, he is lightning fast.
He's fast on the base.
You know, JT again is hitting the ball. But that Duran signing will make enough of a difference. Nola's coming back. Jesus Luzardo is going to go to the bullpen.
Yeah, we need him.
Yeah, you need him, but he'll be more effective coming out of the pen.
And what about I'm blanking on his name, who got suspended for 80 games? Alvarado. Is he?
Yeah, he is back with the Phillies. He cannot play in postseason, but he will help them in that process.
I didn't know that. Is that part of his suspension? He can't play post.
Yeah, he cannot play. Cannot play.
Because I think that bullpen. I mean, I'm with you. The closer was a great addition, and this guy has really lived up to the hype so far. Obviously, I think it's one of those things that's kind of underrated in baseball nowadays. Having a great closer. I mean, I grew up, and you might not want me to tell people this, but I do tell people this. You know, you were a Yankees fan. You grew up. You had one station. You listened to the Yankees, and I think when I was a kid, Mariano Rivera. You know, I mean, he was iconic. You know, for the Yankees. I think it's kind of slept on in baseball, having a great closer, and the Phillies haven't had one for a long. I can't remember who's the last great closer they've had. Was it Brad Litch? Is that it?
He probably gets the nod because he got the final out.
So I think that's a really good addition.
I will tell you this about Alvarado. Let me say this: the dynamic of him and Duran going down the stretch before they get into the playoffs is going to be amazing. I mean, you know, Strom, Kerkering, you know, all those guys leading up. Robertson, by the way, who they re-signed, he's 40 years old. He still has zip on his fastball. Pitched a great 1 inning the other night. I'm telling you, this team is built. The nucleus is there. And the maturity of their approach this year, I think, will pay dividends when they get into the postseason. By the way, Major League Baseball announced the wild card round starting September 30th for the National League and for the American League. So, the Phillies are going to be there. Whether or not they have enough to win it all will certainly depend on their consistency of play. But pitching is there. They don't give up. They don't score a lot of runs early, but they're always in the game.
Right.
You know, and I think it's going to be exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to continuing to doing this scorecard all the way through. And they have a good chance this year, Zan. I really believe that. They have a good chance to get out of the National League and get into the World Series.
And that's all you want. I mean, look, it's never a guarantee, right? You want to have a chance. You want to be there. So, Krause, great stuff tonight, man. Thanks for talking about the promotion. Thanks for kicking around with me a little bit on Eagles, Phillies. We're going to do more of it. We got plenty more coming here on the channel. So I appreciate you doing it tonight, my friend. Any final thoughts before I let you get out of here?
Just text Krause at 267-261. 3428. And I know some people, by the way, on that comment on Robertson, I know some people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's okay. But at 40 years old, think about this. The Phillies worked him out 6 times before they re-signed him. It's his 3rd trip back to the clubhouse in Philadelphia. He had other opportunities with other clubs, elected to sign here. He's an older mainstay in that locker room, which will bring some of that maturity. Schwarber wants to win. JT wants to win. Bryce wants to win. And they want to do that more than dancing by themselves. You know what I mean? They want to win. And I think that difference will play itself out. But we'll see what happens.
Yep, good stuff. Krause, thank you for doing it, man. We'll catch you a little bit later on. And tonight on the Philly scorecard, I got to get out of here so we can record that thing. We're 3 outs away from that game wrapping up.
All right, good stuff, Zan. And thanks to JAKIB Nation, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yep, thank you, man. Appreciate it. There's Krause joining in here tonight. Nice little father-son show tonight. Great stuff. Appreciate him for checking in, and we'll get the Philly scorecard up tonight. I know a lot of you guys like that segment. That's a short that we've been doing all season long, so I'll definitely do that tonight. And great. I want to thank everybody for being here, as always. You guys are really the freaking best, and I love each and every one of you. You guys make the channel possible, so thank you very much. I don't have much time because I told you guys we're top of the 9 here, and Phillies are down 8-0. I don't know where we are in terms of this inning. Let me look real quick. I can't even see it. 1 out. So we'll see how many outs we got to go. I appreciate everybody for checking in. Don't forget to hit that like button. I want to thank you again, all right, for all the support. Johnny Mac was great tonight. We recapped practice number 1. And then tomorrow, less than 12 hours from now, I will be live. Okay, I will be live on the channel. We'll preview day number 2 of joint practice. All right, we started at 8 a.m. this morning. Here we are, 8:30 at night. We'll be right back in the morning at 8 a.m. All right, I'll be live with you guys, and then we'll have a full day, joint practice day 2 coverage. I was upset today. I wanted Shedeur to be out there. I did. I wanted Shedeur to be out there. I kind of like I've always liked Shedeur Sanders, so I wanted him to be out there, and he got hurt, obviously, early. So appreciate all of you guys. See you in the morning. All right, I expect all of you guys to be here. I expect all of you to be here. Thank you very much. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.